Hello everyone, this is Meg again, and today we're going to be making the companion piece or the progression of the last speed paint I posted. I talked a lot about what I didn't like about that piece, how I felt that it lacked story, movement, character, and so in this piece I took some time last night to think over how I wanted to make up for that, and so the first thing I knew was that I wanted it to be zoomed out from her face so we could see her whole body and her location. I decided that I wanted her to be a fairy. I knew that I wanted her to have the same, mouth covered by hand pose, like she's messily licking something from her fingers, but I wanted her eyes to be open and looking at us or the camera so that we had that visual interest there. And I decided that I wanted her to be drinking the juice from a raspberry rather than licking blood. I did briefly consider having her eating a bird or, drinking its blood, but I thought that that was actually a little too gross, and I wanted her to be the visual focus of this painting, so I didn't want to have this detailed bird sort of competing for the visual interest. Although I do think, since I based her wings off of a butterfly's, I think that would have been kind of a neat reference to how butterflies will drink blood sometimes if it is made available to them. So at this point, I've got the structure of the painting. I know where everything is going to go. I know what perspective I have, and we're just starting to lay down some basic colors. At first I wanted it to be like a really bright thing, so we have the sunny yellow tablecloth. Her wings are blue. The raspberry colored. At this point, we are now outside, and at this point, I was still toying with the idea of having a trap hidden in the berries, like maybe a mouse trap or something to keep a sinister touch. But I didn't really think that it would fit in with this image I'd already created, and I didn't think that it would be super clear what was happening to the viewer. But the idea that was born from that later, and you'll see it as I start to render in the lighting and the stuff, is that I decided that this was going to be like someone laid out a treat for these fairies so that they could sneak a picture, and to make that really obvious what's happening, and also for additional visual interest, I decided to render it in the style of a Polaroid picture. I've always loved Polaroids. I think that they are extremely interesting looking, and one of the main reasons why is that they're so incredibly high contrast. The brights are very bright, the darks are very dark. So I think it kind of gives it a really interesting quality. And here at this point, you can see where I tried to put in dappled sunlight and realized I didn't want that, and I wish I had not merged that layer down, because evening out those splotches was such a pain in the butt. You'll see me doing that here in a minute. However, I did ditch the lighting and the colors from the previous painting, which, while I thought they were really cool and interesting, I thought that plus the harsh flash photography would just be way too dreamy or surreal. I wanted this to look like an actual photo that maybe someone had taken. Yep, there I am evening it out. Oh my goodness. I actually might have been better served just repainting over that, but whatever. Like I said, this is a very sloppy style, and I actually think it benefits from having areas painted over and then painted over and painted over, and you see little scraps and hidden colors that show through. This is the point where I start really going in and establishing those lights and darks. The way that skin looks in a Polaroid as well, at least for light-skinned people, is that a lot of the areas look pretty flat, but then it quickly goes dark on the edges, so you do get that sense of volume. So at this point, we're just sort of further rendering. There's not really a lot to say. I've already had the idea and everything's in place. All that remains now is to sort of further render it in. You can see me start to mess with the colors here. I wanted to really push the values. I wanted the highlights to be pink and the darks to be blue, very saturated. There's her harsh shadow. So that's another thing that I find interesting about Polaroid pictures is the shadows are very odd. You kind of get that shadow puppet effect because it is so bright that it casts their shadow in a way that you really wouldn't expect, and I think that that's just a really cool effect. My cat is here in my lap. Let's see if she'll say hello. Wanna say hello? No, she's purring though. Maybe you can hear that. But in any case, at this point, there's not a lot else to say that has not already been said, other than the fact that I did, after I finished filming this, I took a little break and I came back, realized that I had gotten the colors a little too saturated for my taste, so I desaturate a little bit, fiddle with the color levels, and actually zoom in just a tiny bit more, so you won't see that in the video, but at the end you'll notice it's a slight change. So I think I've said everything that I want to say about this piece, so I will go ahead and say goodbye until next time and just let you enjoy the rest of the creative process. Bye-bye!